Believe it or not, you have had hundreds of system errors prevented, thousands of working hours reduced, and millions of dollars saved. Because someone else has been ahead of today. From system engineering, installation to maintenance, and excelling in everything you didn't foresee. Ahead of tomorrow. Helping you thrive in a rapidly changing business environment, not just in energy savings, but also by being environmentally sustainable. Ahead of its time. With an integrated and connected technology for a complete HVAC solutions and holistic systemization. Because you've had LG HVAC Solutions by your side, you can look forward to a future that's sustainable, not only for your business, but also for generations ahead. Ahead of the expected with LG HVAC Solutions.
All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, a very warm welcome to you on behalf of LG and ITP Media Group. My name is Bibhor Srivastava. I'm the country head for ITP in India. It's a very interesting discussion and a very imperative one that we thought, and we got that information after checking with doing a reader's input, getting lots of information as to what we do with the HVAC. A robust HVAC solution must be flexible, especially in today's times. Developers and facility managers are facing pressure to help save more energy, reduce cost, and enhance occupant service. Homes and offices will need to consider investing in HVAC systems with the appropriate components and infrastructure to provide an environment for airborne pathogens like COVID or other viruses. Understanding and controlling building ventilation can improve the quality of the air we breathe and reduce the risk of indoor health concerns, including preventing any issues from spreading indoors. Today, we organize a webinar to understand how one needs to look at HVAC post-COVID. I think LG, I have to thank you for being a part of this, and really, it means a lot to us. In this light, let me introduce a renowned MEP and green building consultant, and ASHRAE and IGBC fellow, Mr. Pankaj Dharkar, founder of Pankaj Dharkar and Associates. During his rich experience of 40 years, he has successfully designed and coordinated more than 4,000 projects of various applications. He's a member of several technical societies like ISHRAE, FSAI, IGBC, and USGBC, IPA, etc. Such a renowned and a legendary personality, Mr. Dharkar. I have always been a big fan of yours. Thank you for gracing the occasion. And before Mr. Pankaj Dharkar takes forward the panel discussion, can we have a quick, another video from LG, please?
Thank you for that introduction. And I'm really delighted to be part of this evening program with ITP. We have been associated for several years with Construction Week. So it is always a pleasure to interact with Vibhor, with you and Jayashree, and of course, the entire team of ITP. You are doing such fantastic work. We always like to be part of your endeavors. So thank you again for inviting me. I'm really today blessed with some eminent personalities from HVAC and our field, and of course, the built environment space. Let me first introduce my speakers today. First, I would like to introduce you Richi Mittal. Richi is a graduate engineer from BIT Meshra and a postgraduate from Delhi Engineering College, 1984 batch. He's also director of Overdrive Engineers who are specialized in energy efficient designs, passive and engineering in air conditioning and cooling systems, indoor air quality, and of course, geothermal is a specialized area where he specializes, and of course, energy audits. He has more than 37 years of experience. He's also a guest lecturer in many engineering colleges, including IIT. And the best part, of course, where we connect very well, he is immediate past president of national past president of ISRE, and also a board of director for Indoor Air Quality Association of USA, a very relevant subject today, which we are going to cover. He's also regional member, council representative of region at large, and he's also going to take over as DRC for ASHRAE, meaning he will be representing us, the Indian subcontinent, Middle East and Africa at ASHRAE board level. He's also ASHRAE founder member for International Society for Ground Source Heat Pump of USA, IGSHPA. So thank you very much, Richi, for be part of this evening. Second, I will like to introduce Mili Mujumdar. She is a MD of GBCI India and a senior vice president at USGBC. Ms. Mili Mujumdar is responsible for technical adaptation and customization of the portfolios of rating of systems of GBCI for Asia Pacific region. She is also responsible for customer coordination, education, training, and developing market mechanisms for adoption of tools and rating system for this region. An architecture graduate and building technology specialist, she has more than 2 decades experience in the field of energy and environment with a focus on sustainable development in habitats. Welcome, Millie. Next, I would like to introduce to you Stephen Lasrado. He is Associate Vice President of MEP in K. Raheja Corp. Stephen is again a mechanical engineer and has been working with K. Raheja Corp since 2013. He has a rich experience of 31 years in the field of HVAC and R, and has been associated with large contracting firms like Sterling and Wilson, ETA Engineering, Suvidha Engineers, to name few. He is also a member of ISRE Mumbai chapter. Welcome, Stephen. Next, I would like to introduce to you Pradeep CS. He is associate VP in MEP Designs for Lodha Group. Working at Lodha Group since 2012, handling residential, commercial, and infrastructure projects for both high-rise and city development. And before joining Lodha, he has worked in Dubai for 6 years for a consultancy firm, a mechanical graduate having professional certificate of lead AP, BD plus C from USGBC and PMP from PMI, also an active member of ISRE and IIE. Welcome, Pradeep. Next, I also have Mr. Ravin Raj, Zonal Head of LG Systems. So welcome, Ravin. I thought before we start this panel discussions, of course, I'm sure the participants will have also some questions. So I would request them to put them in the chat box as and when they come to your mind. But to set the context, I will like to do some small presentation, my understanding, and of course, what the way the life is changing. I think it has completely transformed in these few months. So friends, COVID-19 pandemic is one of the most dangerous challenges the world has faced today. And this viral outbreak is likely to bring about some permanent changes in the lifestyle of the people, and therefore the way we live is also going to see the changes. And we all know that the building play a very important role in this, in such pandemics, since people have to stay indoors most of the time. So some of the prevalent green building concepts are already taking care of required prevention and control strategy, but the measures will have to be more enhanced and stringent now in terms of increased ventilation, prevention of cross-infection, maintaining relative humidity, proper cleaning and disinfection techniques, crowd management, facilities for epidemic control, etc. The ongoing coronavirus crisis amplified the growing calls for resilient and adaptive infrastructure that can effectively operate during such moment of crisis. So integrating new sustainable technologies during the design, construction, and operational phase of an infrastructure can significantly lower the cost of improving the safety and functionalities of buildings. So COVID-19 was thought to be spread mainly through close contacts of person to person, but new evidences, and even as late as day before yesterday evening, where WHO is now talking that the virus can remain airborne for longer times and further distances that originally they thought about. And I'm sure this is going to really have very far-reaching impacts. And I'm going to ask this question to the panelists about their opinion. In addition to close contact with infected people and contaminated surfaces, spread of COVID-19 may also occur via airborne particles in indoor environments. The layout and design of building, as well that of HVAC system, can all impact potential airborne spread of virus. A correctly designed and properly maintained HVAC system keeps humidity at correct level, decreases the spread of bacteria and viruses, improves comfort level, and even saves energy. But building HVAC design and operation is only one part of the strategy of preventing and spread of airborne viruses in indoor environment. EPA recommends increased ventilation with outdoor air and filtration as important components of a larger strategy that includes social distancing, wearing masks, surface cleaning, disinfecting and hand washing, and other precautions. Friends, ASHRAE has taken a step forward to provide guidance on how to ensure that buildings are prepared for such future epidemics. ASHRAE Epidemic Task Force is established to address the challenges related to effects of HVAC on disease of transmission and buildings. And I'm glad that ASHRAE guidelines were put together by a special task force under leadership of Mr. Richie Mittal, who is spearheading this. And this was a beautiful guidance which is well accepted by government and several authorities of the country. And I would urge you to go through this. I'm sure with the current experiences of the second wave, things are going to get refined in the current guidelines. And of course, I will like Richie to talk about it. In addition of describing the virus and its transmission route, it also looks at the effect of environmental condition, particularly relative humidity, temperature, residential and commercial industrial applications. And I really congratulate ASHRAE for doing that excellent work. There are several recommendations we are seeing. All global associations of engineering societies and air conditioning and ventilations have come together and tried to analyze and put their recommendations. There are overall general guidances to increase ventilation rates, improve filtration level, and use of active air cleaning technologies for prevention and control. More fresher and higher number of air changes in buildings will also help in driving out all contaminants and infectious particles effectively. While increased ventilation does not guarantee the elimination of risk altogether, it is also a safest way to reduce the chances of spread of diseases. So it is very clear that from now onwards, health and safety will be the primary criteria while designing and operating air conditioning system. So again, if you see ASHRAE standards, new guidances and ISHRE, we are talking about increased ventilation, prevention of cross-infection, and maintaining relative humidity. So I will, of course, leave it to my friends. There have been some countries where they are propagating 100% fresh air, but all of us know that comes at a very big cost of energy. And the outdoor conditions of those countries are not as bad as what we have. We have very tropical conditions. So I'm going to also ask Millie about it, because it has a huge energy cost which will be brought in. So we have various challenges. The appropriate ventilation, when properly applied and designed, can limit the spread of airborne, and higher ventilation rate comes with energy costs. So cooling of fresh air comes with a whole lot of challenges, particularly in a place like Mumbai, where latent loads are also very high. And immediate issue is the associated increased energy demand. The building HVAC system must be able to handle surge of cooling and heating loads, and also a control of humidity, condensation control, and with that maintaining the pressurization, etc. Filtration is something which brings with it static pressure challenges. So standard modular systems have those issues. So the standards are also suggesting going to MERV 13, 14. Also, we are also seeing some air purifier works based on chemical reactions between nanoparticles and pollutants under presence of UV light. So these are all new things which are emerging. The use of heat recovery is getting challenged. The wheels are getting challenged, but there are technologies where we are able to do that without contamination. So such technologies are also going to see a lot of importance. It is not only wheel, but we are seeing newer technologies with greater efficiencies are coming up. So in reality, post-COVID, sustainable buildings will be a balancing act and not all about energy. Energy is important, but the concept of green buildings shall include healthy people and in healthy buildings. I think that is the key word which I feel is going to happen. But coming straight to my panelists now, starting from Rishi Mittal. Sir, on 13th April 2020, ISHRE released a COVID-19 guidance document for air conditioning and ventilation. Can you please brief us about the various parameters of air quality that directly impact the spread and transmission of novel coronavirus? Are the new mutants airborne? And do you think ISHRE need to revise the guidance document?
First, I will quickly, I think you have already shown the COVID guideline, which was launched on the 13th April by ISHRE. And that probably speaks about, we were sure that, we had a lot of studies when we were compiling this document that this COVID is airborne. But now that WHO and CDC has very well put it that it is airborne and it remains suspended in the particle. So our document does cover that. And, we have, in that document, we have talked about temperature, relative humidity. Then we have also talked about different applications where, when I say applications, residential, commercial, and industrial, as well as we had taken out another document which came out with Indian Medical Association, which was for healthcare facilities. So that document has spoken a lot about what temperature, what relative humidity, what kind of system, what technologies you have to adopt. Having said so now Pankaj, you mentioned that what are we doing next? Yes. So we are working on the revised format. Version 2 is going to come, where I'll quickly brief you what are we going to touch in that. We are going to touch about the importance of ventilation. We are again going to speak various type of ventilation so that people understand the importance of ventilation. We are going to quickly touch about the active filtration. But by the way, I'm sure everybody knows there are two kinds of filtration. One is a passive filters and one is active. Passive is nothing but particulate matter filters, and active is using various ionization and other technologies, which at CDC or WHO are calling it as emerging technologies. And efficacies of these systems are not yet established. It is very unfortunate, but to say so that there are a lot of companies in India are also selling these technologies. However, the efficacies are not yet to be established. And It is not that I'm speaking about it. It is a lot of papers, and WHO and CDC both are speaking, and they are always sounding, all the buyers be little very about due diligence before you get into any active technology. Then we are going to talk about air distribution parameters. As Pankaj Bhai mentioned about how this virus is moving in the air. So we need to understand on the air distribution on the new as well as on the retrofit of the building. We're going to talk on that. We're going to again touch on few applications like banks, offices, lift, saloon, ATM, which is again going to touch the users. It's going to be very brief. Then we're going to touch about a little more on the how this virus is actually being transmitted. So we all know that in a closed environment, how does it, there are a lot of studies which are available and they talk about the viral load. There is a calculation now available that if somebody is in the room, there is one study which has said that it is not necessary that 2 meter distance, this airborne can travel up to 60 meters in an enclosed area. So, enclosed areas are always a very big challenge for all of us. We need to, as everybody is speaking about, wear your mask, sanitization, take all precautions, distance. So, enclosed area plays a very vital role, and there are a lot of filtration levels that are being talked about. So, uh, MER 13 is what is being recommended at all the given time. Importance of fresh air, which has already been spoken of, is very, very important. But at the same time, there is a heavy cost to bring in a lot of fresh air also. So you have to be you have to be very careful on when you are bringing in the fresh air. Then we also talk about filtration. MER filter, 13 filter is what is normally recommended. UV light is one option as an active technology, which has been very well spoken and very well written. There are a lot of guidelines available on ASHRAE and ISHRAE side, and you can always you go there and study more material on it. There is, we can talk. I don't want to talk it here, but you see, we can always look at that option. So, Pankaj bhai, I hope I am able to answer most of your question, but I know it's a very big topic, and I will still say that wear your mask, maintain social distance, and be very careful when you are indoors, because it is better to, if you are indoor, it should have good amount of fresh air, filtered air, and also spend little less time if the number of people are very high in that area. So this is what I would say. Thank you, Pankaj bhai.
Thank you. Thank you for updating us what is happening at ISHRAE and ASHRAE level. And I'm sure with your position, we will be communicated with the most current developments globally on research work. And especially, I can get it from you that on simulation technologies, particularly on indoors and use of CFDs, probably will also get very popular in coming years. And active technologies is something which where we would see dramatic changes and probably more understanding and transparency which ISHRAE and ASHRAE will bring to us. So thank you, Richie, for updating that. Moving to Millie, I think my question to you is clean fresh air is a remote dream for us now, and how certification at GBCI can complement, create awareness about IAQ importance. Do you expect the credits of IAQ should be reviewed and given more importance, particularly post-COVID? Over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Dharkar, for the question, and thanks to Construction Week for organizing such important, discussion. So, as you have rightly said, and Mr. Mittal, you have said that it is so important for us to look at IAQ, more importance given the post-COVID times, and there are so many issues and challenges. So, talking about certification, and as you rightly pointed out, Mr. Dharkar, that whenever we talk about maintaining a certain level of indoor air quality, and particularly in India where the outdoor air quality is very poor, so it comes at a cost. When we say comes at a cost, it comes at a cost of deploying the technology, deploying source control, as well as at energy cost, because we obviously know if we increase ventilation, if you add filters, increase filtration, that not only will increase energy cost, energy consumption, but it will also have a higher and higher maintenance cost. So we have to, so through the rating system, what we do is we try to balance, these impacts, because we know that in practical applications, O&M cost becomes very, very crucial. So in LEED particularly, we have rating systems for different typologies of buildings, which is residential, commercial, as well as other typologies. And we look at design, construction, as well as operation. So at the design stage, through the different credits and prerequisites that we have, we ensure that, first principle first, there is maximum source control through choice of materials, choice of furniture, a selection of technologies, filtration, and designing of systems, energy efficient systems, complemented by IAQ strategies. And many of them are prerequisites. So to your point, that how do you make these things applicable? So how we have designed rating system, that things which are completely uncompromisable, we make that as a prerequisite. So which means that if you do not apply them, you do not get certified. So that's the first thing. Then, it's, as I mentioned, it's very important that you follow it through with proper maintenance. So what we do is that, again, we pay a very great attention to performance monitoring display, because as soon as you see that the systems are not performing, you will take actions, to improve them. So performance monitoring, and we have also introduced something called a re-entry to offices, which is a new, like post-COVID, offices have been closed for so long. So once you reopen the offices, there is a need for recommissioning or, taking care of so many systems to see that the air there is absolutely, okay for occupants. I would also like to flag too. So this is on the certification side, which I want to highlight, that through credits and, prerequisites, we ensure that you give maximum importance. Another important thing, related to the question of sick building syndrome, which we thought we will discuss. We recently did a study in about 35 office buildings in India. And we found there the study was to see the state of art of office buildings in terms of IEQ and whether it is related to health and productivity of people. And many of this, to your point, many of these buildings are certified to some green building rating or the other. So one interesting find we saw is that at design stage, though all of these buildings have deployed efficient technologies, IAQ measures, but when it comes to O&M, none of them are meeting. And so as a result, when we went and did an occupant survey, we found that many of them have, say, eye strains, they have headaches, they have dizziness, they have COPD, and it is correlated to higher PM 2.5 levels, increased CO2 concentration in the offices, daylighting bit there but not used, so on and so forth, and maybe high VOC concentration due to furniture, due to so many other things. And with the ongoing disinfection going on from COVID, the VOC, and if you're not using green cleaning agents, then there is a high possibility you will have a high VOC concentration. So all of this, cumulatively you have to see. So I think I would like to take this opportunity to, that all of you are part of the design community, that you have to play a equally important role in not only design, but how you follow it through with operation maintenance, and sensitize people that these are so crucial, not only to maintain the desired quality of air, but also from health and productivity point of view of people. So I'll take a pause here and would like to hear from others as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Millie. I think it is so important that a well-designed building is maintained properly, and that is what can lead to high indoor air quality maintenance. And performance monitoring is another aspect which you touched so well. Thank you, Millie, for your views. I think we really appreciate your experience. I think I got a very interesting question from Chetan D, which was regarding application of UVGI, and I think Richi has very well answered that UVGI can be used for killing viruses with right intensity, with all precautions for surface only. And I think this is a subject, Richi, will you like to add there, because the density of UVGI, the airflow across it is also such important, and sometimes it is getting neglected, and it is not. I think ISHRE has to do a lot of work there. I'm sure the standards are being recommending certain density. And can you just throw light on that?
Pankaj bhai, so you are very right. At ISHRE we have formed a technical group which is working on this UVGA technologies, so that we come out with a guideline and standard. That is number one. But let me tell you, UVGA is being used in our air conditioning industry, majorly in the food industry, where we have this UVGA installed in all air handling units, so that the coil surface, it is giving the light on the coil surface, so that there is no microbial or virus growth on the surface. But now this technology is being very much used for in the ducts and cleaning the surfaces. You can use it, yes, but there are a lot of precautions. So I will say yes, it is a usable technology, but with a lot of precautions. So I will say thank you, Pankaj.
Thank you, sir, and I'm looking forward for many more standards and good awareness of UVGI coming to the market, and ISHRE needs to really do that job. Best wishes to you, Richi. And I can see another interesting question coming from Uday Ban Singh. I would like Millie to answer that quickly. Do you see a rating system to be mandatory requirement? She is asking by the government in near future, keeping in view India committed to Paris Climate Accord.
We have seen, ratings being mandated in the government sector. I think what's important then, rating system should remain voluntary because it has to be driven by, a purpose. As soon as you mandate a system, and particularly I have seen in India from my experience that people try to cut corners. And finally, you do not achieve the objective. So my suggestion would be that all the good codes and standards which we have in place, that should be mandated. And those are anyway included part of the rating system. For example, ECBC, for example, the ISHRE guidelines on IAQ. So the NBC, chapters on sustainability. So that should surely get mandated over time, and then automatically people will tend to follow, say, 50-60% of what any rating system recommends.
Thank you Millie for that, and my thanks to Chetan D and Uday Ban Singh for asking those interesting questions. My next question goes to Stephen Lasardo. Stephen, what are the fundamental challenges people face today in cities with high PM levels with regards to sick building syndrome? And what are the challenges expected in HVAC systems, especially on high-rise buildings?
Yeah, good evening to you all, and thank you for having me. To answer your question, Mr. Darkar, 90% of the time, we are all indoors. I mean, people spend their time indoors, whether it's in your homes or at your office space. Now, sick building syndrome is a condition where people frequently get headaches, or they have chronic coughs and maybe sore throats, and this actually affects the productivity of people working in those spaces, and maybe you'll have some absenteeism from work also. Now, various studies have shown that this well-being of the people is directly linked to the indoor air quality. Now, the causes for this is, I think Millie ma'am had touched on that, and even Richie Mittal had touched on some of the points. I'll again put them across. Now, the causes is inadequate ventilation within the indoor spaces. And then you have, when you have a very high level of pollution outside, the infiltration of outside air indoors with a high level of particulate matter of PM 2.5 and PM 10 actually adversely affects the health of people. There are a few other factors which I would also touch upon for the sick, regarding the sick building syndrome. One is the volatile organic compounds within the indoor spaces. They're generally 5 times higher than outdoor spaces. Now, use of paints and your interior material, wood, or disinfectants being used within the indoor spaces actually contribute to this. And then you have, like you touched upon, Richie Mittal also touched upon, your temperature and humidity should be at a comfort level. And in terms of microbial growth, yes, when you have a higher humidity, you have this microbial growth of fungus and molds. And actually, you also have bacteria and viruses. This adversely affects the health of people indoors. And in terms of corrections, interventions, first and foremost, actually the outside air that is coming into your indoor space, we need to have a good filtration level. Get in adequate fresh air as per ASHRAE or ISHRAE guidelines. Or if it's a green building, make sure that you are actually having that green building, fresh air as per green building, which is 30% more than ISHRAE and ASHRAE. Adequate fresh air coming into your space, and it is filtered. So it should have at least an MARV 30 level of filtration. So you're taking care of the PM10 and PM2.5 particulate matter at the air at the fresh air unit. So you're not letting the particulate matter enter your indoor spaces. Then you can again have your MERV 13 level of filtration at the air handling unit to actually filter the particulate matter recirculating within the indoor spaces. And in terms of VOCs, use material which is products which are emitting low VOCs. Temperature 24 to 26 in ISHRAE guidelines, and RH between 40 to 60% is ideal. In terms of interventions on microbial growth, have UVGI at the coil, as mentioned earlier also. You can actually eliminate the microbial growth, have a good clean coil and efficient system, HVAC system. There are standards available. ISHRAE actually has given a good lineup on the class A levels of particulate matter that should be maintained in the spaces. I think we take care of some of these points, most of these points, you'll be able to achieve a good indoor air quality. And I think this will go a long way. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Thankful for updating us. And I was happy to see your focus on increased fresh air strategies. I really appreciate those. In the meantime, we had some interesting questions from Vishwanath Mopagar, Abhishek Shinde, and Savio D'Souza. And I believe Richie has answered them well, because I could see thank you messages coming from you. So I appreciate Richie for quickly answering those, and keep on doing that. I think it is very important that our panel, our participants are participating in this interesting discussion, and very eminent personalities. You rarely get this chance when such 5 eminent people are here to answer your questions. So moving forward to Pradeep CS. Pradeep ji, in terms of air quality, how do you think planning of cities and neighborhoods should change post-COVID scenario? Which are the new technologies you expect to complement current HVAC system in near future?
Thanks, Pankaj. Good evening, all. And thanks to Construction Week having me in this webinar with sharing the panel with industry experts. So we all know that in this pandemic, the cities or urban areas are becoming the COVID hotspot. So nearly 50% of the COVID cases in these days getting registered from the cities or urban areas, which have in population of 14 to 15% of total population in India. So definitely there is a need to have the thought to develop a more resilient cities to deal with this kind of pandemic. So there are many studies conducted worldwide, and the reports highlight some of the aspects which are reason being these cities becoming the COVID hotspot. I will just take a few. So they say the density of population in the cities are too high. The cities are densely populated. Number 2, the economic activities in the cities are very dense. Number 3, environment in the cities, the air quality and water quality is very bad because of the high dense population. And number 4, the congested commutation. You can take public transport, even take an example in Mumbai. You can see the local trains, how congested the transportations are. So because of the high density of population, there is a load on the commutation. And the 5th is lack of medical infrastructure and the preparedness by the government. These are some of the key aspects these study papers highlight. What are the few aspects, in my opinion, should be considered or we should focus when we are going to develop a new cities or a neighborhood in future? So number 1, increase the open space. So the increase the open space, it decongest the cities. So there is some guidelines in ISHRAE and ASHRAE as so to increase the open space in the city development. So which will help to improve your air quality and also the water quality. And second aspect is the implement the walk to work concept. So what is happening in the cities which we have already, there is a concentrated residential development in one part and the concentrated economic activity development other part. So for which the people used to travel from one part of the city to other part of the city, which adds the pollution and the air quality issues. So if we have an holistic development with a mixed use development, we can say, where the people can walk to work, which reduces the pollution, air pollution, also the commutation time, and gives a better time to the citizens. And third aspect is the easy to access the daily needs. So in this pandemic, we have noticed we have started isolating ourselves to avoid spread of these diseases. If we create a community where you have access to all your daily needs within the community, so it is very easy to isolate the communities to avoid the spread of these kind of pandemic diseases. And the third aspect will be the sustainable development. So when we have those moving forward, all the real estate developers, of course, with the support of IGBC and USGBC, the sustainable development will be the new focal point in the real estate. So in the sustainable cities, we can give a focal point of to have on-site or off-site renewable energy. So now the electric vehicle is the trend in the market. We have to create an infrastructure for electrical vehicle charging and the parking accordingly. And we have to look into the building design to have how we can better design the building with have natural light and passive ventilation. And there are new technologies emerging in the market, which we can adopt in the city development. So, and the last aspect is the reliable power and data network. In this pandemic, it taught us that most of the people we are working from home. So what is the basic need when the people started working from is the reliable and rigid data network and then electrical thing. So these are the few aspects we should focus moving forward for a resilient city or neighborhood, which we can plan. So coming to the second part of the question, I think I'm taking a bit time, but the question is such that, so I'm just trying to cover as much as possible. So there are the new technologies already, Richie sir has been discussed, what are the emerging technologies available. So there are two parts here. One is the air distribution to avoid the cross spreading of this virus within the air conditioned space. Second one is the air purification system. So the first one, air distribution. We have conventional ducted air distribution. Apart from that, there are technologies available like underfloor air distribution and radiant cooling and chilled beams and direct outside air handling system. There are many systems available which will avoid the cross spreading of the disease in the occupant space. And second is the air purification. Again, the Richie sir and Stephen sir also discuss in detail. So I don't want to get into those details, the different kind of air purification, whether it's a chemical or biological or a particulate matter. So there UVGI we have and ionization. So there are many systems available, which is emerging, and efficacy, as Richie sir rightly said, is a question. So they are not yet proven efficacy other than the mouth 13 filter for PM 2.5. So, for example, if you take a unitary air system, there are many new technologies are getting added to the aircon units, especially for the unitary air system. Like we have an auto clean system in the unitary air system. We have smart human sensor where aircon comes with a sensor. It senses the number of occupants in the air conditioned zone and it adjusts its cooling accordingly, which will help to reduce the energy. And IoTs, the smartphone apps, where you can control your operation of AC through your phone, the next future. And the evaporative cooling is a study under research where we can spray the mist and the condenser to improve the efficiency of the air conditioning system. So and then higher efficient compressors with dual inverter. And there are 3D or 4D airflow concept which is coming up to have the equal and uniform distribution of the air inside the inside the air conditioned space. So these are the few emerging technologies that some of them are already implemented in some of the manufacturers, another are still in a research stage. I hope I able to cover most of the points.
Absolutely, Pradeepjit. I think very well covered, and I think you touched very important points on 3D and 4D. I think that is something which is going to be a very interesting change, the way designers and consultants are doing job right now and how they are going to do tomorrow. Thank you so much, sir. And moving to Ravin Rajji, I think, how would you look at twigging systems in pandemic days, Ravin?
Thank you, Construction Week, and thank you, my fellow panelists also, because it's really a privilege to share the forum with among so many experts in this. Coming back to the system, especially during the pandemic time, what we have majorly done is we have focused on three major parameters. One is on the environmental parameter. Our systems are designed, to cater to affect the environment in a lesser way, because our system efficiency is far better. Second, most important thing is, as we all know, most of the consumers today are asking the industry experts mostly on the air quality. So we have come up with a very unique concept called air purification system, which is part of our VRF system, and also is now coming in the individual residential air conditioners. The air inside the room premises, it can be filtered up to PM1 level. It undergoes 5 stages of filtration. So we can have a purified air within the conditioned premises. And also one more major parameter what we have come up with is human detection technology. Because even though we are all working in the office spaces, we have been all asked to maintain the individual, social distancing. So even in a common meeting room, we are supposed to now maintain minimum of distance of 2 meters or 3 meters. So in such scenarios, it's very difficult to, cater the airflow in a very focused direction. So we have come up with this human detection technology concept, which can be installed in our air conditioning units, indoor units. Basically, it senses the human presence in the entire room, and it directs the airflow accordingly. So you don't need to, change the vane direction individually based on the individual user's preference. It senses and it adjusts automatically. And also we have come up with a concept called heat recovery VRF system, because now we can see a lot of smaller to medium level hospitals are coming up, which needs both air conditioning as well as hot water system. So what we have done is our heat recovery VRF system, it can provide air conditioning, cooling, as well as it can recover the heat from your indoor units, and it can be used to generate hot water free of cost. So by doing all these parameters, we are able to, meet up to the rising demands, especially during this pandemic times.
Thank you, Ravin. I think it was very interesting to know that the companies have taken it as a mission to address the issues like going up to PM1 level with smaller modular unit. It is very interesting. Also, occupancy sensor based airflow management is now possible, and also heat recovery. I think 3 important issues, which is addressing the air side and also the energy side, is a great relief for consultants like us and users here. So thank you very much for updating those developments. They were very interesting. So tell me about what is the developers seek from you as LG for residential and commercial buildings quickly. What is that they are seeking new in this post-COVID era?
Sir, 2 things are now, especially when you are talking about commercial aspects, a lot of people have been asked to work from home. So the air conditioning load on the building is coming down drastically. So we all have been asked to work on the retrofit side. For example, if they have already AHUs, or if a chiller system of 3000 TR or 1000 TR, wherein they focus to use only 100 TR, 200 TR. So what we are doing is we are trying to connect VRF system with the existing AHUs only by replacing the coils, mainly to save on the energy parameter. The developers are asking for this. Second, the builders, they are very much concerned about the indoor air quality, and also they are very much concerned about, because most of the people are working from home, and in the air conditioned space nobody opens the door. So they are also asking about how we are able to control the humidity RH levels within the conditioned space. So these parameters is the major requirements which are coming from the builders. And as far as humidity is concerned, LG, we have come up with a concept called dual sensing control. So based on both temperature as well as humidity in your indoor and outdoor conditions, we are able to provide the optimum cooling and also the comfort level for the indoor system.
Thank you for that update, Ravin. Very heartening to see things are changing very fast from the leading manufacturers and complementing the current requirements. So coming to Stephen and Pradeep, a very common question because you are the topmost users for the air conditioning products, probably in city of Mumbai, and I would say in India, with Raheja and Lodha, two prime movers of construction industry. So what do you think role of MEP consultants and MEP engineers can play the building industry post-COVID-19? And do you think air conditioning provisions, especially in tall buildings, with both of you are specialists, will need some immediate corrections? Common question to you, very quickly, if you can give us updates, sir. Starting from Stephen, probably, and then to Pradeep, sir.
Yeah, thank you for your question. Actually, most of the answers have been already answered. See, indoor air quality is going to be a top priority for all our clients or people buying residential flats. Now, design and implementation of indoor air quality solutions that integrate with the HVAC systems are very important. Real-time air quality monitoring, measurement, and display, that is another centralized kind of a system should be looked at critically. There are a lot of air cleaning products available in the market. That is UVGI lamps, you have your air cleaning, electrostatic precipitators, air ionizers. Now, as MEP consultants and engineers, we should evaluate these products for their applicability, their effectiveness, their durability, and certification. Certification, they should have some kind of an international UL rated or CE certification. And then, of course, the costs are important. And proper due diligence will have to be done. I think which Mittal pointed out earlier also. Due diligence will have to be done, and then only the product should be recommended. Then in terms of educating and training the users. Now, Millie had touched upon this. Most of the time, the operations and the maintenance is in shambles. So this is going to be a very, very important aspect which needs to be looked at very critically. As far as the immediate steps, it's already, everybody touched upon it. Fresh air coming into your indoor spaces should be, and your MERV 13 filtration, that is a must, both at the fresh air as well as the air handling units. Introduce UVGI lamps. One aspect which we should quickly think of is that heat recovery wheel system, which you touched upon, where you take your toilet exhaust through that contaminants come in touch with the heat recovery wheel. And then probably since it's a rotating wheel, you're probably sending the contaminants back into your indoor spaces. That will have to be looked at critically in terms of eliminating it. Maybe an efficient filter at the heat recovery units to eliminate contaminants. So these are some of the thoughts I can quickly think of. Thank you.
Thank you. I will also like to take Pradeep's view. Pradeep ji.
I think Pankaj ji, most of the points are already covered by Stephen ji. So only one aspect I would like to add is the energy conservation. So being a lead AP, so I always look my design in that aspect. So while doing a lot of air purification, so it ultimately adds the load on the system. So we also look in that aspect of the energy conservation.
Thank you, Pradeep ji. I think both of you touched about IAQ, importance of IAQ, increased ventilation, real-time monitoring, air quality, and energy conservation. And I'm looking forward for a time when I can see that in your beautiful buildings where the entrance lobby should also start displaying the PM1, PM2.5 levels digitally yeah. With the energy conservation and the energy consumption. We would like to see those beautiful lobbies where we only see Italian marbles and plush interiors. Let us have some LED displays which also shows to the health of the occupants their actual story of indoor air quality. I think we would like to see that in near future happening, sir.
Yeah, and we are lucky to have you as our consultants for two of our prestigious commercial buildings.
You are catching me.
It'll help us a long way. Thank you.
No, sure, sir. We will together do that and let us create that awareness more intensely. But my question to Richie, you are staying in Delhi. You're outdoor. We are talking about increased ventilation to bring down, and your PM 2.5 levels I see most of the time, sometimes 450, 500, 600. In Bombay also we have similar conditions. So how would we treat this, and how will we take this air and still try to maintain better quality?
First, I would say that thankful to COVID, we should not be thankful to COVID, but at least people have started talking and serious about air quality. Air quality was always concern in India, especially in Delhi. And the air quality that you're talking of 400 or 500, that normally goes during the winter times. Now, in winter, there is a challenge that you can bring in a lot of fresh air. You can work on a more of a recirculation mode. And in summers, per se, for the climatic zone that we are living in, evaporative cooling is a very good solution, I would say. I think that brings you 100%. We designate it as a poor man's air conditioning system. But believe you me, in the northern part or in a dry or hot climate, that is the solution in the summers, which will bring in the fresh air. Although air quality during summers is not so as bad as it is in winters, but in winters, yes, as Mr. Stephen was saying that you want to see air quality in the lobby. So I don't want to name of the projects we have done. Couple with the moment you enter into the hotel, the first thing you see is the outdoor air quality and the indoor air quality, and with the LED display. So that gives you an idea that you are entering a safe zone. As Pankaj Bhai, you said that marbles are good, everything is good, but then you see these numbers also. There are a lot of solutions. And I always, unfortunately or fortunately, I always advocate passive filtration. I'm the one person who is still not able to believe that active technologies like ionization, other skin can help me fight COVID. I know it's very unfortunate, but I'm not talking it is that, there was one case study, where there's an article which said that all these guys, they have studied in a box of 2 feet by 2 feet by 2 feet, that the COVID is killed in 99.9999%. So I think we need to be very, very careful on using it. I'm not against this technology. I would like to see the light on these technologies, but as CDC and WHO say, these are emerging technologies and efficacies are yet to be established. That's an apostrophe S. So passive filters are the best, and there are solutions, and there is a lot of recommendation to go. Pankaj Bhai, so we are safe, and I'm happy that people are talking about air quality now. So not thankful to COVID.
Thank you. I think, Richi, you set the tone. I think very important, Richi, that we couldn't really popularize the importance of systems like two-stage evaporative cooling, or blend it with third stage, and also giving them an option where a good refiltration and fresh air combination with three-stage cooling. I think we need to work a lot where such smart system will address the problems of air quality, increased ventilation, and probably use the tropical climate for energy uses also. I think we need a lot of such examples in the country to happen. So moving to my last question to Millie. Millie, can we actually move towards a passive cooling strategies without any mechanical ventilations? You have earlier done huge contribution on passive technologies during your association with Terry. You have set big examples to the nation and the world. Can you tell us, is air conditioning is inevitable for all the projects?
I get to say the final words. So before I get into passive cooling, just to add to what Mr. Mittal said, we have our office, GBCI office in one of the most polluted zones of Noida, which is very next to an auto market. And there, of course, there are other air pollutants which we face challenge, in terms of sulfur dioxide, etc. But in terms of PM 2.5, thanks to because we had to, we being a kind of custodians of the lead rating system and operationalizing the well rating system, we had to walk the talk. So our office, which is designed and operated to LEED and WELL Platinum standard, so we are able to maintain air quality with PM 2.5 level below the WHO recommended, level of 15 microgram. So, and we have been able to achieve it through proper filtration. And to my earlier point, what I mentioned, that it's very, very crucial for us to monitor it regularly. So we do see, plummeting or increasing air quality, concentration during certain periods of the year and during certain times of the day. And we also have to maintain it regularly through different operational measures. That's one part of it. And changing and cleaning of filters is a very, very important part of the overall O&M protocol that we have adopted. So monitoring and visualizing what you have, and to your point, Mr. Tharkar, what you say, that you have to see it to get the impact, drill down in the minds of the people, then only you can take action. So that's on the first part of it. The second part, what you mentioned on the passive cooling. Yes, I think, passive cooling can complement or supplement traditional air conditioning. Unfortunately, the kind of loads that we deal with, the latent loads that we deal with in humid climates, etc. Passive techniques, I think alone cannot give you the desired level of thermal comfort that you would expect in a air conditioned building. So having said so, there are two ways how we look at reducing energy consumption. Firstly, within LEED also we have something called a integrated design delivery, because we always find that the resultant cumulative higher energy consumption is because the MEP designer and the architect does not work in tandem with each other. So it's very important that that integrated design delivery is happening, so that the architectural actions and the MEP actions are coordinated well to give you the final solution, which is the building operation being energy efficient. That's one aspect. Secondly, I do think that passive techniques such as proper orientation, shading, use of say energy code compliant materials, good landscaping, microclimate control, then heat island impact control like the white paint which was mentioned in the chat box. All of these put together, and there are so many others put together, can reduce your demand on conventional air conditioning by say 20-30%. That's definitely possible. So overall, your air conditioning demand will come down. And also, I think buildings need to be more dynamically designed. There are certain areas in India, for example, you can have strategies such as night cooling. You can have so many other strategies where you can recoup the outdoor air when the outdoor is better than indoor, because we also have a lot of internal loads in our Indian buildings. So I think with the differential strategies through efficient controls, we can also reduce a lot of energy. So in a nutshell, passive can certainly reduce your demand and help you to operate more energy efficient and a cleaner building.
Thank you so much, Millie, for those insights on thermal comfort, integrated approach, and dynamically designing the systems. So nice of you to update us on those strategies. I know you are the one who are associated on designing the wind towers in Terry and so many passive technologies, and we have forgotten that all these technologies have come from India and given to the globe. And I think time has come when we should be even thinking of popularizing them with scientific evidences in terms of thermal comfort. I think through Richie, I will like to appeal that we should talk about increasing the comfort temperature from 24 to 25 to 26. In fact, the 1 degree movement which Ensure has taken has really taken things in a very right perspective. But I think the mindset is important. If we are able to accept 27, probably the passive things can happen in several areas, in several applications. I won't say that for a data center it is possible, but certainly for certain class of offices, we could really eventually save a lot of energy and with a better environment and specifically post-COVID, which has become very important. So thank you, panelists. It was a wonderful, wonderful evening. And thanks to ITP and entire team for inviting and making me part of this eminent personalities for this 1 hour. And I was really happy to see the way participants have asked questions. I would have wished to take more questions, but we will answer those questions which remained unanswered. And thank you for that participation.
Before I thank immensely everybody, I think Naveen, you wanted to say something. So before I conclude this, Naveen, you want to say something, or because we're talking about
just wanted to elaborate slightly more on the air purification kit and also the new innovative round caster what we have brought in. So if if you can play that quick video, yeah.
The LG air purification kit for cassettes has 5-step filtration that maintains optimal air quality. The pre-filter first removes large dust particles from the air with 2.5 times more efficiency. In the next stage, fine dust is charged with negative ions, and the electrostatic dust filter further removes the charged ultrafine dust from the air. The deodorization filter then eliminates odors and harmful gases. Finally, the ionizer removes bacteria and viruses for perfectly purified air.
No, thank you. Yeah, this was the one I wanted to cover.
All right, that was a great 2 commercials. I think a lot of excitement we see. But ladies and gentlemen, I can see lots of people still there in the audience. Even there is a webinar fatigue, but it's such a joy to see lots of people turning up, lots of hands going up, many questions, and what an incredible discussion. So very interactive, so very engaging. Mr. Pankaj Dharkar, absolutely can't thank you enough. Such a sutradhar, such an anchor, and what a tremendous panel. So thanking Mr. Richie Mittal, Mr. Stephen, Mr. Pradeep, and Millie, how much can we thank you? You've always supported us immensely. I think at Construction Week, all my team behind and LG, I think we are very happy to co-create this very meaningful platform where we saw the knowledge, the highest level of discussion with the knowledge, a very neutral and a very credible platform. So thanks to everyone. And I think Jayashree, my colleague behind, the editor of Construction Week, will make sure that, we do an exhaustive coverage of this, because I think 1 hour, if I may say to LG, in turn to LG, is too less a time. I think this discussion thread should go on and go on. Don't you think, Mr. Dharkar? I think we should have a second level of discussion as well, because in the paucity of time, we could touch, obviously we did a great justice to the time and engagement, but I think such an eminent panel, such a learned panel, and a huge large number of recipients who want to listen more from you. I just want to say one more time, a big thanks to everybody. Very happy weekend. Please keep yourself safe, stay blessed. And I think, thank you audience once again for your love to remain with us. Thank you very much.